Going on, everybody? Crypto Coffee here, and I'm going to be making a little video today about just an idea that I had that relates to HEX, and it's related to the psychological principle of anchoring. And if you don't know what anchoring is, or if you've never heard that before, it's basically the principle that, for example, if I ask you to imagine the last 4 digits of your social security number in your head, and then I ask you to make an estimation about something like the population of New York. Well, chances are, because that number is fresh in your head and you are anchored to that number psychologically, your predictions are going to come up as either multiples or divisions or around the same combination of numbers that the last 4 digits of your social security number include. Right? So there's really no relation to these two numbers, but it just happens to be fresh in your mind. And so this concept, along with the unit bias problem that HEX solves, it actually makes for a great combination when you consider the anchor to be $1 HEX. Right? So that's the anchor that I want to put across here, which is really easy to conceptualize because we all know what a dollar is, right? We can all visualize a dollar. And the anchoring effect is a cognitive bias, which, we would usually describe a cognitive bias as something that negates our judgment or that is basically makes us vulnerable, right? But in this case, in HEX, anchoring is actually used to your advantage and flipped on its head, which is one of the great things about HEX. It flips common knowledge on its head, and it flips common biases in your favor. So, for example, if I'm trying to decide how much a token is going to be worth someday, and I might want to anchor to a financial goal, let's say $100,000, right? So I want to start predicting how much of a coin it's going to take me to get $100,000 of that coin, and how much of a multiple we would need. Well, $1 HEX makes all this math really easy, because we've all seen a dollar. We can all easily divide it and say, oh, if HEX is 5 thousandths of a dollar now, that's only a 200x to get to $1. And we can do that math, and we can also say, well, what about 50 cents? What about 10 cents? What about $2? Right? But it's much harder if you take a coin that's, say, $2.70 or $5.90, and you try to figure out, well, how much of this coin do I really want to buy in order to achieve the financial goal that I want in the future? It's a lot harder to do that math on the top of your head. And it's especially hard, it's really impossible now for a lot of people with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is just beyond unit bias right, at this point. $9,000 of Bitcoin scares most people off to even getting involved, because they say, oh, well, I can never afford a whole Bitcoin. That whole thing. Obviously, you don't have to buy a full Bitcoin, but it's too far gone with a lot of people on that. So they'd much rather buy 100,000 of something, for example, HEX token, and have that common vision and that dream that's so easy for us to all share, which is $1 HEX. Now I'm speaking from an American standpoint, right? Maybe you can do €1 HEX or wherever you live, but the dollar is kind of the global reserve currency, so I'm using the dollar in this example. And that's kind of the example or the common ground that I think we can all share, and that we should just keep on chanting until it eventually becomes a reality. And the beauty of HEX is that it uses this cognitive bias to our favor so that we all have a vision to help actualize. And eventually, this is going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, a lot of people say, well, there's no way to prove any of this, and that's totally true. This in science, we prove things by the law of induction, right? So basically, if you repeat a result 1,000,000 times or 10,000 times, you can say with some degree of accuracy that the same result is bound to happen on the 10,001st time. But those scientific theories involve boatloads of data. And so all these poor arguments about how HEX can never get to $1, it's just impossible. It's not based on any real data. We don't have a whole lot to work with in the crypto space. The fact that Bitcoin was able to do what it did, and Ethereum was able to do what it did, and so many other coins were able to make 10,000x or more, is really incredible. And from a scientific induction-based standpoint, we don't have boatloads of data to go on here. Okay, we've only got kind of an intuition. So we're using more of the intuitive side here of just basing our belief on the design principles in which it was based off of. Just like how Bitcoin had design principles based on, counteracting inflation and the banks and being a store of value and whatever narrative it had at the time. And HEX was world computer and now decentralized finance, all that stuff. Well, HEX is digital CD, and the design principles that underlie it include a lot of game theoretical aspects that can help launch us to that point. Obviously, this is going to take belief and time. There's really no way to create some kind of a model that will prove or disprove the success of HEX, right? But from what I've seen so far, the intuitive side of me is really feeling that this has everything it needs and more to achieve massive levels of success. Now, what else is going on in Hexland today? We got a buy box listing on Buy Box Exchange. This looks to be a Chinese exchange, and it was listed today, at some point today. If you're Chinese, go check it out. I'm not going to be trading on here, but seems pretty cool. Let's take a look on CoinMarketCap, and it seems that they do over $1 billion of USD volume per day. So pretty significant, guys. Pretty significant in terms of overall volume ranking. Always cool new stuff in HEX, right? Another centralized exchange. One of many at this point. I don't know. There might be 24 now or 25. But let's take a look at the ranking in terms of how it compares to other exchanges. Where's Buy Box? There it is. Number 94, right? So top 100 exchange. It's got a web traffic factor of 544, that's out of 1,000. An average liquidity score of 479, again out of 1,000. 182 markets. It's been around since 2017. And there's not much else I could say about it. I don't really know too much about it. Just one of many exchanges in the arsenal of HEX, right? Number 94, so, not crazy, but it is Chinese and they do a lot of volume. Now, that could be wash traded, as sometimes they've been known to do. But, over $1 billion is significant. And either way, just one of the many cool things happening in HEX. But that's pretty much it, guys. The concept of anchoring allows us to focus on this $1 mark. And whether or not we can prove it with any kind of mathematical or scientific models, which you can. It depends on the model you use, right? You can make a model that proves this will definitely work or proves this will definitely not work. Just be careful of anybody out there saying that they definitely know something either way, right? Nobody knows anything to any degree. Nobody knows anything as an absolute, right? And people, when they do know things and they do model things, they often ignore their error ranges and their outlier events. So let's say you are modeling all of the coins that failed in the past. Well, you might be ignoring that 1 out of 1,000 outlier, which is what I believe to be HEX. But that's just HEX for you, it really is the outlier coin. I keep saying this, but it is the white swan event in crypto. And it turns a lot of common knowledge over on its head, right? So, for example, the adage of if something seems too good to be true, then it probably is. But that kind of stuff, guys, some of that knowledge doesn't always have to be taken as an absolute truth. Again, right? There's exceptions to every rule. It's kind of like how a lot of people were born being told by, maybe their parents or their school system or whatever institutions they were a part of, stupid adages like money is the root of all evil, right? Well, money can also be the solution to all your problems if you just frame it a different way, right? So a lot of these things that we've been told and we've learned to question and ask, or to just take as truths, should really be questioned a lot more. So for example, a lot of people, it seems to be the norm nowadays in crypto to ask, what's the roadmap and who's the team? As if it's mandatory now to have some kind of team of, 5 VC-funded Silicon Valley guys with 100 years of combined experience or whatever they want to put on their flashy website, right? Or what's the roadmap of a bunch of future promises that they probably won't keep, right? That's all a roadmap is. It's just a list of things that might not happen in the future. It's a list of potential disappointments. HEX fixes all this because it doesn't have a roadmap and it doesn't have a team. We are the team. The network is the team. It's totally decentralized, totally finished. And I know that's mind-blowing to some that there can be a project that's actually finished, doesn't have a roadmap. I know. It's very paradoxical to the whole crypto game because we haven't seen something like this in so long. But Bitcoin is kind of similar, right? There's no roadmap set in stone. People have different ideas, and many people can work on Bitcoin and opt in and out. Many people have over the years, just like many people contribute to the Ethereum ecosystem as well. But there's no real team. There's no team that's concrete, that's incorporated or anything like that, right? So whatever happens in HEX is all due to the goodwill of the community. I can make up my own little roadmap and say, hey, I'm doing an ad campaign, or I'm making this website, I'm making this YouTube channel, and other developers in the community have their own agendas. But that's the beauty of the decentralized aspect of this coin, that there's no promise from some central third party that they're going to break in the future with by providing you with some vaporware product that doesn't even work. HEX is clearly working great, and more good news every day. So I know you guys haven't heard from me in a while. I just wanted to make this as more of a filler video. More stuff to come in the future. I'll be doing an ad campaign update pretty soon here. But as always, guys, keep calm and HEX on. See you later.